Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I thought it'd be very fun if we do kind of like a Halloween type themed reading vlog. Halloween is coming up very soon in a couple of weeks now, when I'm filming this at least. Look, help, I'm not listening to this audiobook anymore.
It was just like, if you know, you know.
He's like so flirty. Not all of the books I've chosen are spooky, but you'll see when I go through the TBR. I'm sorry that my voice sounds like this. I've been sick for the past week. My friends and I recently went on a road trip, and then yeah, all of us are sick now, including me. It was really bad like the first few days, but thankfully I'm getting better now, and I keep sneezing. But I don't know if that's because of hay fever or because of the sickness, because normally I don't get hay fever, but I've known some people who like develop hay fever as they get older. So I'm hoping that it's not hay fever and this will eventually go away because it's quite annoying. Anyways, let's get into my little TBR of books I've chosen to potentially read this week. So firstly, we have Phantasma. I feel like this was pretty popular maybe last year, but I never really read it, so I want to read it this year. But like, even look at the cover. But even look at the cover. I feel like this cover is just so beautiful and it just screams like Halloween. And this is a dark fantasy romance, which is really interesting because I've never really read a fantasy book in that genre. So I'm quite interested to read this. Next, we have The Silent Patient, and this is like a mystery thriller book. And I mean, like, do I even need to explain anymore as to why this is fitting for Halloween? Like, yeah, I just knew we had to have like a thriller book in here, so that's this one. Okay, now for this next one, you're going to have to hear me out. I have The Passengers on the Han-Q line. Now, since I live in Australia, obviously it's not autumn during Halloween, it's actually spring, but I feel like autumn is obviously like way more fitting for like the Halloween vibe, I guess. And the reason I chose this book is because the cover is really giving Halloween. I mean, not Halloween, autumn, especially with like the leaves here. Like, you cannot tell me this doesn't like scream autumn. Next, we also have Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson, and this is her most recent mystery release. Now, if you don't know, Holly Jackson is the author to the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I feel like everyone knows and loves that series. So that's why I was initially interested in this book, but the premise is actually really interesting. It's about a girl who has like 7 days left to live, and then she kind of is like solving her own murder. To be honest, I don't really know like the actual plot of like any of these three books. I only kind of roughly know it for this one, but I feel like I prefer going into a book like not really knowing that much anyways. Now for my last book on this potential TBR of books I might choose from for this week, we actually have 1984 by George Orwell. Now, I genuinely have no idea why, but I've just randomly been wanting to pick up that book for some reason. I literally read this book in English in like 19, not 19, I literally read this book in English in like 2022, I think, or 2021. I remember I hated the book, but that's just like any book you're forced to read, I guess. So I kind of want to give it another chance. And I don't know, this just a random thought that popped into my head. And then like now I've just been like, I want to read it. So that's also on my TBR. As for how that kind of fits in the theme of this video, I feel like it's like a dystopian type book, which, okay, I don't know if this is stretching it, but like I feel like that kind of gives like more like spooky vibes kind of. Anyways, as for the book I'm going to start with, I think I'm actually going to read, I'm going to pick one. I'm actually going to be cleaning my room now, so I think it'll be perfect to pick a book which I think will be good on audio. So I think I might do The Silent Patient, just because I feel like this is a bit less brain power than like choosing like a fantasy book or something like that. So let's start this. I should probably give you a summary of the book, but I don't know why. It just feels so stupid to be like summarizing such a classic. I don't know. I'm sure not all of you guys know what it's about, but I just feel stupid like telling you what it's about. And honestly, I don't even know how I can kind of explain this book, so maybe I'll just Google it. Okay, so 1984 is a dystopian novel about Winston Smith, a man living in Oceania, a totalitarian state under the absolute rule of the party and its iconic leader, Big Brother. The book explores themes of total government control, mass surveillance, the manipulation of history and language, and the suppression of individuality through propaganda and fear. As you guys saw, I was cleaning my room, and while I was cleaning my room, I was listening to an audiobook of 1984. And I don't know if I'm a genius for this, but basically, I'm listening to like a very shortened version. It's like made into a movie type thing. Like, well, I know that doesn't make sense. Let me explain. So basically, the original audiobook I looked up, and it's like 12 hours and something long. And I assume this is the audiobook where they're literally reading exactly like what George Orwell wrote, like word for word. But the one I'm listening to is actually like an adaptation where I think it's like very condensed. And what really sold me was I have Audible like Plus, I think it's called. So basically there are some audiobooks you get for free, and this is one of them. And I can't believe this is for free because it's actually so like amazing. They have a really good cast of narrators. So they literally have Andrew Garfield and Cynthia Ervier as like two of the main like narrators. It literally just feels like you're watching a movie without the pictures. Like I know people say that for the graphic audio, like audiobooks, but this one is like actually like a movie. And this one is only 3 hours and 30 minutes. Now, I feel like classics and books like this always really intimidate me, and I'm sure they would for some of you guys as well. So if you guys have been wanting to read it, I'd highly recommend like listening to this audiobook. And the reason I say that is because I kind of want to describe this audiobook as like more modernized, but like I don't really think that's the exact right word for it. It just doesn't feel as though it was written in 1949, which is like when the book was actually written. I feel like also as I'm listening to the audiobook, I'm remembering like what kind of happens because I had to like read and analyze this book for English. I think I literally remember like the ending as well, but I kind of forget like how we kind of get to the ending. So it's still been pretty fun and interesting reading it. I only have like an hour or so left, and even though this isn't the most like Halloween in your face book, it's got very dark undertones to it. So even though it's not like Halloween, it's like giving dark vibes. Okay, I have some book updates. I finished 1984. I don't have too many new thoughts. I feel like it's a classic, so it really just made me think a bit more about the themes and things like that. And I don't know, I feel like for me personally, I just wanted to read it to see if I would think any differently about it because the last time I read it, I was obviously forced to read it, whereas this was more like for my own enjoyment. And I think having like the shorter version of the Audible adaptation definitely helped with that. And honestly, I feel like the way I was describing the audiobook just doesn't do it justice, so I thought I'd just play you like a little snippet of it. This is just from the preview on Audible, so it's like anyone can listen to this because obviously I can't be just playing parts of the actual audiobook.
A beautiful blank book.
Okay, yeah, I think like from that snippet you can kind of tell what I mean by it's very like movie like, and also especially when there's like multiple characters and things like that, it just feels like actually a movie. And also I feel like it's honestly like the length of a movie as well, like 3.5 hours. But yeah, overall I'd highly encourage you to listen to it if you've been wanting to explore classics more but you're nervous to get into them like I was. I do think though if you want like a very authentic experience of reading a classic book, this is not really that because obviously it's been cut down by so much. And I think it's crazy how you can take things like classics and then there are just like everyday phrases from them which you'll hear in real life, like Big Brother is watching, things like that. Makes me kind of wonder what like modern books we have now which will ultimately leave like a lasting impact on society in the future. I don't know why, but rating classic books just feels like wrong to me, like the same way it feels wrong to rate a self-help book or like an autobiography. Like in terms of enjoyment, I definitely enjoyed it, but that's because I was wanting to pick up this classic, which I don't find myself wanting to do very often. I feel like if I did like just force myself to read this, it would like my rating would be lower. But in terms of my enjoyment of the book, like because of the wide cast of characters and how well the audiobook was done, it would definitely be like a 4 or a 4.5. But in terms of how I actually rate 1984, I feel like I can't comment on that because so much was just taken out of it that I almost don't feel like I can say that I read George Orwell's 1984 because it wasn't his like exact writing. Other than that though, I've also been making my way through The Silent Patient. I'm currently on chapter 18, which is page 151. And now this book is only like 300-ish pages, so I'm just a tiny bit less than halfway. And honestly, I'm really enjoying this. The chapters are so short, like some of them are like literally 2 or 3 pages long. Like, I don't know, it just makes you really want to fly through the book. I wouldn't say that like something big is being revealed like at the end of every chapter or anything like that, but I feel like there's just so many pieces to the puzzle. You're just like, how is this gonna fit together? Oh, let me explain to you what this book is about. Basically, this book is about Alicia, and she's in what seems like a perfectly happy marriage, but then she shoots her husband 5 times in the head, and now she's been sent to like a mental hospital, and she's been there for a while now, and she just hasn't spoken a word since. And then now we're following like this, I don't know what his job is called, because it's not like a psychologist, it's not like a psychiatrist. I think it's like a psychotherapist. I could be very wrong with that, but I'm pretty sure he's like a psychotherapist, and he's just trying to talk to Alicia and kind of break down her walls and figure out what actually happened. Now the book is in the point of view of that psychotherapist, but then there are also past chapters which follows like Alicia's diary which she writes in. So I feel like the multiple point of views in this is very interesting. I feel like I've not been reading for very long at all, and I'm already halfway through the book, but at the same time I feel like we haven't discovered any like clues, or we haven't really made any links to anything yet. So I'm very curious as to what the ending is going to be, because from what everyone says, it's actually so shocking. So I don't know. I feel like, well, personally, when I read like mystery thriller books, I'm not really like trying to figure out the plot and things like that. I'm just like here for the vibes. I'm sure this will be able to shock me. Apart from that though, I don't have too much else to say about this book just yet. I'm about to go to my friend's birthday party, so I think on my way there, because it's like quite a long travel, like 1 hour both ways, like there and back. So 2 hours of reading. I think I'm just going to listen to the audiobook. Guys, I'm walking over right now, and this place is actually so creepy. Listening to the audiobook of this is really not helping. I'm actually so... Look. Help. I'm not listening to this audiobook anymore. Hello guys, and sorry for the jump scare. I just did like my skincare and I have this face mask on. I realized I probably should have put it on after I spoke to you, but now it's too late. We should talk about this book while my thoughts are still like fresh in my mind. There was one twist, and that twist was very twisty, but I thought there was going to be even more twists after that, and then yeah, after that there was just like nothing, and then the ending was very like almost boring. I've read thriller books where it's just like twist after twist after twist, and I just like never see anything coming. So I feel like this book was a bit disappointing for me in that way. That being said though, the one twist was very like, I did not see that coming, and it was very like jaw-dropping. Anyways, even though that one twist was really good, I was also thinking about like all the other hints and stuff we got throughout the book, and I feel like some of the hints were just very like misleading almost. Like I think the author threw in a lot of hints, and then the psychotherapist, who's like the main like detective guy, would go explore these hints, see what happened, like try to uncover the truth a bit more. And then I feel like I was thinking about all those hints we were given, and I feel like none of that kind of like connected with the ending. Sometimes when I finish a book, I like to read other Goodreads reviews to see if other people feel the same way, and I feel like I read this one review which kind of encapsulates what I thought like very well, so I think I'm just going to read it to you. The author spends an awful lot of the book having the main character Theo, who's the psychotherapist, investigate Alicia's family members. The cousin, the aunt, the brother-in-law, her gallery manager, and each of them is made to seem weird, untrustworthy, and in some cases outright creepy. But all of it just ends up feeling like a cheap trick because nothing comes of any of them. None of those things are resolved, and it just feels like a lazy way for the author to point our suspicions in the wrong direction while leaving frustrating loose ends everywhere. I mean, you can make any character seem suspicious and create false suspense very easily if you have no obligation obligation to deliver any resolutions. Another thing about the book is I feel like a very, very big part of the book is like, oh, why has Alicia not talked since her husband died? The reason we were given was kind of very like brushed upon, and I don't know, I feel like the reason just like didn't really make sense to me. So I was kind of looking for a bigger explanation on that, which we never really got. But everything positive I said before still stands. I just don't think it was as worth it to me to get to the ending. And overall, I think I'd give this book 3.5 stars. In terms of like this getting me into like the Halloweeny mood, that I feel like this did a perfect job, especially when I was walking to my friend's birthday this evening. That was so spooky. I was literally listening to this audiobook and then like I had to stop listening because I actually felt like I was gonna get murdered. It did its job in that sense. As for my next read, I'm in more of like a fantasy mood, so I think I'm gonna pick up Phantasma. This book is actually huge though. I think it's like 500 pages. I feel like I'll really enjoy this because I normally really, really love fantasy and fantasy romance, so this is right up my alley. I'll read a bit before bed tonight, but to be honest, I don't think I'll get very much into it because I'm very tired. Okay, it is time for the first book update on this book. I'm on page 188 now, so I'm a little bit into it, and I have some really, really great news. Before I tell you my thoughts, let me give you the book summary because I feel like I do kind of know what's going on now. This book follows Ophelia, and she also has a younger sister named Genevieve, and their mother has just died. Since Ophelia is the eldest daughter, she inherits her mother's necromancy magic, and her mother also left her the house. But what they also didn't realize is her mother also left them a lot of debt, and I guess if they don't repay the debt, then their house is going to be taken in a month. So basically, Ophelia's little sister Genevieve enters Phantasma, which is this magical, spooky, like competition with all these trials and things like that. And the winner at the end gets a wish from the devil. And then Ophelia herself also ends up joining Phantasma because she goes to try save her little sister. Once Ophelia enters though, she realizes that it's a lot spookier and harder to do well in the trials than she originally thought. And that's where this mysterious man offers her like a blood bargain. So he's going to help her pass all these trials, and in exchange she has to help do something for him as well. I'm a huge sucker for trials, so the trials in this book is definitely doing it for me. I actually love reading about trials. Also, the Halloween vibes are definitely Halloweening in this book. I think the most out of any of the books I've chosen. There's literally like ghosts, she's a necromancer. There's been mention of like devils, demons, vampires. Like it's just very Halloween vibes. I actually love this so much. If you're like a seasonal reader, I'd definitely recommend reading it around Halloween. I think what I'm enjoying most about this book though is the characters. I actually love Ophelia as a character. She's very like, I feel like she's not like a super dumb main character and she's making pretty smart decisions. And also I love how like headstrong she is. The main male character, I actually can't, there's just something about him. He's really doing it for me. Like, he's just so charming, witty, like the banter that they have going on right now, actually dying. Like I find myself smiling at this book like during their dialogue scenes, and you know that's when like you're enjoying the book and the characters and like their chemistry and connection. I'm so curious to see what happens because another thing about Phantasma is you're not allowed to fall in love. Shocker. So I don't know, it's like a bit of forbidden like romance. I'm actually eating this book up. I looked up the second book and I realized that it follows like a different set of characters, so I guess you can kind of read this as a standalone. So I'm kind of curious about everything that's going to happen because there's no like really like big like, oh actually I guess there is. I don't know, I'm just really excited to see what happens. If this book keeps going how it goes, I'm happy to say that it is giving me 5-star feelings, which is actually so shocking to me because I feel like I've always seen really mixed reviews about this, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone rate this 5 stars. But I feel like this is my sign to film reading vlogs more because every time I film a reading vlog, well, the past 2 times, I find a 5-star book, which is that coincidence or is it good luck? I don't know.
Something I forgot to mention before, but this book has like mental health representation, specifically OCD. So I think I'm really enjoying that aspect of things, especially seeing how the author is incorporating that in a fantasy book, because normally I feel like in like a real life setting, it's like a lot easier to discuss it, whereas obviously in a fantasy book, it's a bit harder. We also got like a little bit of a reveal and like a little glimpse of, I guess, what the rest of the book could kind of be. And that's making it really exciting to read. I don't know, I just want all of our characters to have a really happy ending. I literally cannot stop reading it. Guys, what the fuck? What the I should have seen this coming. Hello guys, as you saw yesterday, I finished this book yesterday and I feel like I have not stopped thinking about it since I finished this book. It was actually so good. I'm just gonna get this out of the way and say that this is 5 stars, but to me it's like a 5 stars where it's like 5 stars for pure enjoyment. Like for example, if I compare this 5 stars to like Throne of Glass 5 stars, they're like 2 very different 5 stars, if you know what I mean. Like this is just like pure enjoyment. Whereas like if I really try like analyze the plot, the writing, the characters, like yeah, sure, maybe that will like lower the rating a bit, but just out of pure enjoyment for this book, and I feel like none of that other stuff like really affected my reading experience or anything. So I give this 5 stars. This is actually the perfect Halloween like read. It's so like gothic spooky vibes. If you have time this Halloween, I'd definitely add this to your TBR and give it a go. The plot twist at the end also caught me so off guard, and it was just like, if you know, you know. I feel like I've read some reviews since then, and a lot of people were saying it was like predictable. There was a lot of like hints towards it, things like that. And as I mentioned earlier in this reading vlog, I'm not really reading to try, analyze, and solve all these things. I'm just purely reading for the vibes. So in terms of that, this was also amazing. I feel like the difference for me between a 5-star book and like a 4.5-star book is like if I'm attached to the characters. And I actually really, really loved all our characters in this. I feel like the main female character, Ophelia, she did get a little bit annoying towards the end, but it wasn't like super, super annoying. But the main guy in this, I loved him throughout the whole book. He's actually the most like flirty, witty, bantery, charismatic, literally just everything. He's actually amazing. I think he's definitely made it onto my list of my favorite book boyfriends. I also dog-eared so many pages, and I don't normally do that because I like my books in pristine condition, but that's how you know I loved this book. These scenes that I dog-eared are all like scenes where like the romance was just like... Actually, you know what? Let me try find some quotes from this. This isn't a spoiler, but the context kind of behind this quote is like she summoned him. So he goes, "Where the hell are we?" Blackwell's voice said... Why can I not read? Okay. "Where the hell are we?" Blackwell's voice rang out from her, right, clear and strong. Any hint of the shadow voice lingering in her mind evaporated like smoke. The faint white haze that always clung around Blackwell's form illuminated the space and filled her with such a strong sense of relief that before she realized what she was doing, she was launching herself in his direction. He caught her against his chest, and she wrapped her arms so tightly around his neck that it was a good thing he didn't need to breathe. She buried her face into the crook of his throat. "You came. You called," he answered. After a long moment, she took a deep breath and unwound her arms from his neck. He narrowed his eyes. "What happened?" he asked. "Don't tell me absence really does make the heart grow fonder." This is literally what I mean. He's like so flirty, and like the dialogue between them is always so good. I actually can't help myself from smiling when I like read it. Here's another one. "You don't get it," she whispered. "No one gets it. They only judge. The girl who has to tap on walls before she leaves a room, or everyone she's ever talked to will die. The girl who can't run a simple errand because a dark thought popped into her head that something catastrophic would happen if she left the house that day. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to satisfy the voice long enough to get a break from having to listen to every single sin I've ever committed on repeat. Listen, if you ever need to punch a wall to relieve yourself from whatever insidious voices in your head, I'm not going to judge you. That is one of the least strange things I've come across in Phantasma, I assure you." He narrowed his eyes. "But letting yourself believe you've done something so sinful that you deserve to be in pain is another sentiment altogether. And if you're upset about what may have happened to others in that trial, taking care of yourself first is not a sin. You understand that, right?" Okay, because I cannot stop reading these quotes, I'm going to read you another one. He grasped her face in his hands. "In a different life, in a fair one, I would have kept you until my eternal soul withered away to dust," he vowed to her. Then he was gone. Everything about this book was just perfect to me. It was just so fun, such a quick read. Never was I bored. I loved the characters. I loved the main male character. I feel like I've said all that I need to say, so pick up this book if it interests you. Also, I just want to say we're getting through my TBR so quickly. I don't know why, but with these books, I just read them so quickly. I feel like because the Halloween-y type books, they're very like thrilling. So it's like I want to keep reading to see what's going on. So I feel like that's why I've been reading so quickly. I don't know. That's just my hypothesis. I did not expect to get through 3 books, or was it 4 books that I've read? I think it's been 3, but it's actually crazy to me. I feel like I normally definitely do not read this much. Anyways, for my next book that I want to read, I think I'm going to read this one, which is The Passengers on the Hiii Line. I feel like I just need like a quick and easy read after this book because I don't think anything's ever going to compare to this. So I'm just going to read this, and I don't know even what this is about, but I think it's a bit more of like a fiction type vibe. So we're doing a whole 180 from this. I'm editing the reading vlog and I just kind of realized that I didn't really say anything about The Passengers on the Hiii Line, so I didn't really finish it in that week which I was reading spooky books, but I've since finished it, so I thought I'd kind of tell you what it's about as well as what I thought. The story is really based on like a train line in Japan, and then you follow different passengers who take the train, and then kind of you see how all their stories intertwine, and then you follow their stories, and I don't know, it's kind of just a very like slice of life type books. So I feel like when I explain the plot, there's honestly not like too much to it. I thought it was really interesting seeing how all the passengers' stories were intertwining together, and then I was literally on the light rail the other day and I was just thinking about how everyone's lives could be connected, but like you don't really know. It was a short and sweet book, but overall I wouldn't really say there was much else to it, but I do feel like I could tell that a lot of things were getting lost in translation. The way it was translated, I don't think I really loved it because I felt like things felt very surface level, when I feel like if maybe I read it in Japanese, like if I could understand Japanese, then it would have hit more differently. Or something else about it is I went to Japan earlier this year, and when I was mentioning some of the stations and stuff, I was like, oh, I've been there before, so I don't know, that was kind of like a cool connection to make. Overall, I think this book was okay, but nothing that amazing. To be honest, I don't know if I'd really recommend it to anyone unless you're really just looking for a sweet, cozy time and like nothing more, then I'd recommend this book. So I think for my rating, I'll probably give it 2.5 stars. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the vlog. Sorry that this video came out after Halloween. It was meant to come out before Halloween, but I just got too busy with traveling, so I wasn't able to edit it, which means travel vlogs will be coming soon. Those are always my favorite to edit. But yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you around soon. Bye!